Hello, everyone. This is Amy Lee, the Productive Mama, and as promised, I'm going to share with you what I learned about what you all are paying for your monthly cell phone bills. So, I have a lot of notes, so I'll try to pay attention in case there are any questions. So, first, thanks to everybody who responded. Basically, I took all of the responses and I tried to sort of level the field to average out the monthly cost per phone. Okay, so some people said I paid for a year in advance and this is what I paid, and detailed the data versus minutes versus texts. But what I found out is that the average cost per phone ended up being about $50 per month per phone. So if you are a family of 4, you have 2 teenagers or tweens or whomever has a phone, you're paying $200 a month for your phone bill. That is not a small amount of money. Okay, so that's the average that folks are paying. Okay, so this ranged from $11 per phone all the way to $92 per phone, and that is quite a range. And we'll talk about, some of the variables in that range. I will say that I suspect most bills are actually more than reported, because I think a lot of people were just giving me their rate because it was a pretty even number. A few people I did ask about, does that include your taxes and fees? So for instance, my bill just closed 2 days ago. And my bill, when I looked it up, was $87, and that's for 4 smartphones, 4 iPhones. With taxes, I'm up now to about $92 or $23 per phone, which I think is a great rate, considering what folks told me. So there were 2 other families that reported lower per phone bills. So I think I'm doing pretty well. Now, the $11 per phone family, they prepaid for a year and said that their phones are basically used just for emergencies. My $23 per phone, oops, I lost you, I'm sorry. My $23 per phone is very actively, frequently, daily, hourly, probably used phones. So not occasional use, emergency, sitting around most of the time phones. So I think that's pretty good. Let's see. Another family said that their phones were their only source of internet, which I know would not work for a lot of families. And that probably factors into how much they pay. Okay, so I detail my $23 per phone bill pretty well on my review post for Ting. That's who I use. And I have linked that here so you can see, okay, what does $23 per phone actually mean? Some people are going to think that it means limited text, limited data. We really don't limit it too much, but I do have some caveats there that I'll go into. Let's see. Okay, so I explained that we don't get coverage absolutely everywhere. We get coverage most places when we travel. But when we go camping in the boonies, we don't have data for sure. And sometimes we might not have cell coverage, but we are totally okay with that, because for us, that's the point of going camping, is to be unreachable and to unplug. Okay, so we're okay with that. But if you're somebody that absolutely needs coverage every single place you are, that's something to consider. Okay, I'm going to put this down. If you're watching, this is how much most of you are paying per cell phone per month. This was the average that I came up with. I'll pick it up again later. Okay, what else did I say? Okay, in that review, I also say that we don't stream movies over the internet. Over cellular, rather. I'm sorry, we don't stream movies over cellular. And I've really trained my kids to, if they want to look up something on YouTube or even send texts with photos in them, to wait until they get on the wireless. We do have wireless, and I think that makes a big difference. And that's something else to consider. Do you wrap that wireless bill, that internet bill, into what you pay for your cell phone? That's something that you might have to consider for you to do your calculations. So that's a big difference than people whose primary internet connection is with their phone. Okay, so I've also trained my kids to put their phones in airplane mode at night, so their phones aren't checking things, updating, using data overnight. And my kids also don't expect yearly phone upgrades. They expect to use their phones until they die because they see mom and dad do that. We don't get updates until our phones, like my husband's cell phone, it's a smartphone, but it is 2000. So it is 6 years old. Mine is not that old if I have upgraded, but I did so because my phone basically almost exploded. And then I had to upgrade a kid phone because it was dying. And so I gave her my old phone and upgraded. Okay. So we've really approached cell phones with our kids from a mindset of utility and savings, that we are trying to not spend as much money as possible on that. Okay. Okay. So I also detail in there how we each in our family, we use our cell phones really differently. And so that's one of the reasons I strongly recommend you use the rate and usage calculator to see what might work for you. So my husband by far uses the most minutes. He is on his phone a lot for work. The rest of us don't actually use our phones as phones very much. The teens, they text the most. They are texting a lot. And then I use the most data. I'd like to say it's mostly for work, but I haven't actually analyzed that, but we'll go with that. So we use our phones really differently. And Ting does break that down. I know this because I can go in and I can see how exactly we're using our phones, how each person is using their phone. Oh, so when I was talking about not streaming movies, 1 month after my daughter had started school, after homeschooling, she started high school, our phone bill was huge. I look, and her data usage was through the roof. And this was because she was using her phone at school for music, but like using video, using YouTube. And she's not able to access that on the school wireless. So we had to have a big talk about how, no, that's not going to work. Look at your usage. Look at our last month's bill. Look at this month's bill. So it is great to kind of isolate how you're using the phone and how that will affect your bill. Okay. With Ting, I also pay for our phones outright. So I'm not paying them in monthly installments. Yes, this is a bigger upfront expense, but it's still very much worthwhile by our monthly bill. Okay. So I was paying previously for my phone about $170 for 2 phones. So $85 per phone at $23 per phone, which is an increase. I used to pay less than $23 per phone, but I've gotten a little bit lazy, I think, with my data usage. Okay. So that's a savings of about $62 per month, or $744 in savings per year for 1 phone. And that's definitely more than I personally would pay for a phone. And again, I don't upgrade every year, so I'm not going to be having that expense every year. Take that, multiply it by 2. If you have, 2 adults in the household, that's $1,488 of savings per year. So if you are worried about paying for your cell phone outright, you just continue to pay what you've been paying for your bill, set that money aside, save it, and you'll be able to pay for your phone outright, no problem, when that time comes. Again, the monthly savings from Ting may still offset what that phone cost would be plus. So it's definitely still worth it. Okay, so now let's say you're paying a little over what I found to be average. Okay, reminder, $50 a month is what I found to be average for most people for their cost per phone per month. Again, some were paying much lower, some were paying much higher, the point of average, right? So let's say you were paying $60. You might pay less than I am per phone with Ting, okay, depending on how you use your phone. Ting is pay for what you use. So, but let's say you're paying what I pay, which is $23 per month. So that's $37 in savings per month per phone. Now let's say you have 3 phones. Say you have you, another adult in your house, and just one kid on a phone. So you have 3 phones. Now you're saving $111 per month or $1,332 per year. And that is nothing to sneeze at. And again, that is just slightly over average. That is using my phone cost, which yours might be less. And that is just with 3 phones. You might have more, so your savings might be more considerable. Okay, so that is just all about what I just went over was what most people are paying per month, what I pay, and what your savings are. Again, I use Ting. I have used them for several years. Boy, I should have looked that up before I got on. I've used Ting for several years now and been super happy. I really love them. So here are a few reasons that I love them. Number one, they're based in Jackson, Mississippi. Anytime I've called, anytime I've had to use customer support, it seems to me, I'm fairly confident in saying that their people are here in the US. So your jobs are here in the US. That's a complicated issue, and I'm not totally against service centers elsewhere. But if that is important to you and you'd like to keep jobs in the US, Ting is doing that. Number two, I've moved at least 5 phones over to them in the last few years, and they make it super easy. Everything about it has been easy. Anytime I've had trouble, which has not been often because they really give you very easy instructions, they have been super helpful. So I've been very happy with their customer service. I've bought 2 phones from them, directly from them, with great ease. So again, I do pay outright for the phones. There's no contract, so the savings are worth it. I went over that already. I might save a little bit on the phones elsewhere if I bought them elsewhere or did refurbished or whatever. But I feel like the savings would not be enough to offset how easy they make it for me. The other thing I like is so far it's been really reliable. I haven't had any outages that have impacted me, at least not more than I think I ever had with who I was with before, or that I notice other people complaining about. Wasn't there some big, I can't remember when those phone outages were, but they've been reliable. They run on, I think, Verizon and Sprint. So on those 2 networks, you get coverage in most places. Okay, and of course, the biggest thing I love about Ting is how cheap they are. Again, I am paying $23 per phone. I do not limit my kids in their texting. I do let them get notices so that they see how fast those texts add up. I do not monitor their data usage, though I do encourage them to use wireless whenever possible. And I definitely don't monitor minutes because my husband has to use the phone for work and my kids just don't use the minutes that much. Okay, so they have amazing prices. Okay, so those are the things that I love. Now, I know that changing phone companies can be a pain, but I have not looked back at all since I did this. I was very nervous when I first did this. If you're really reluctant to change and would rather stay with your current company, then I recommend checking out Bill Cutters. I mean, you can obviously negotiate for a better price, but Bill Cutters does that professionally and they share the savings with you. I have put a link to them. I have a detailed review on my site, but I just put the direct link here. And you can let them try to lower your monthly cell phone bill cost. Okay, but I would encourage you to at least use the link that I put here to check out the rate and usage calculator to see how much you might be saving. So you just get out an old phone bill, compare what you're paying now with your usage to what you would pay with Ting with the same usage. If you do switch and you use my referral code, you get $25 off, which could be your first whole month being free if you just have one phone especially. So I think it's worth at least looking at that rate calculator to see what your savings might be. So to recap, most of you are paying $50 per month for your cell phone bill. I pay $23. And so that is quite a bit of savings over the course of a year and over several cell phones. Tomorrow, I will be discussing issues with kids and cell phone usage. A lot of you struggle with some of those issues. And I created a special free printable to help you manage cell phones in your home. So stay tuned for that. Check in tomorrow. If you have any questions about Ting, please ask. If you have any questions that you want me to address when it comes to kids using cell phones, I would love to have those before I get on tomorrow so I can address those issues. Otherwise, thank you everybody who responded with what you are paying for your cell phone bill. I hope this was helpful so you can see where you stand and if it's something you might want to consider changing to help your budget out. Have a great day, everyone.